All right, welcome back to Blue by the Numbers, presented by Feldman Chevrolet of Highlands. Coming up on week 4, Brian. It feels like we're a quarter of the way through the regular season, man. It always creeps up and it just goes quick. So, how was your weekend? How was Saturday? We'll break it down, but like initial vibes.
Yeah, vibes were great. Last week we were on here and the Lions looked horrible. Michigan looked horrible. And so much better vibes, much better weekend. Makes for a much more enjoyable weekend. So vibes all good here, my friend. How about you?
Hey, man, I'm with you. I kept telling people that the Bears and the Chippewas were get right games for the Lions and for Michigan, and that is what happened. I was expecting it more so in Ann Arbor on Saturday than in Detroit on Sunday. But yeah, we're big Lions fans here, so obviously we don't talk about the Lions too much, but nice to see them get back on track. It was fun being at the big house on Saturday. I'll say this. There's some throws that when you're in the stadium, you don't appreciate how good of a throw it is.
Yeah.
The throw that, and there's a bunch of throws that we'll talk about, but the throw that Bryce made on the run, rolling out back over the middle to Donovan McCulley, just like, oh, that's a good throw over the middle. And then I get home and I watch the cut ups and the arm angle, and he like kind of is like almost like coming down across his body to flick it there. Special talent. And anytime you get to see it in person, it is just different. I said this yesterday. Go check out our Blue by 90 podcast from this morning on Monday. He will be the number 1 pick in 2028. He is just the total package and very lucky to have him. Shout out to everybody involved with getting him to come home to Michigan. The kid is just a freak, man. That's really all I can. We haven't even seen the full potential either. This is having a lot of fun right now, and obviously you got to see it against better competition. But man, when the lights are on, this kid just he just makes your jaw drop.
Yeah, he's really good. We saw the Oklahoma game, and I don't blame anything a lackluster performance on him per se. It was more of game plan, and we heard Biff say they took the air out of the ball and they won't ever do that again. But like you said, I before I dive head burst into the Bryce hype pool, I got to see it against somebody good, and it starts this week in Nebraska. So I'm super fired up for that game and loved watching him this last week. We knew, anyone that watches high school tape knew how dynamic of a runner he could be, and man, when he turned that on, he made some just incredible runs. First quarterback to go over 100 yards since Devin Gardner. That's what is over almost 10 years, over 10 years,
2013, right?
Yeah. So, in some fluke game that some quarterback breaks off a 70-yard run or something, it hasn't happened in over 10 years. Like, that's pretty remarkable. And I don't expect it will be his last game over 100 yards either.
No. And I think when you're watching, especially the first couple runs, I'm like, all right, get on. And then he trucks a guy and trucks another guy, and you're like, well, all right. Yeah. I think 24/7, there's been a lot of comparisons made, and comparison is a thief of joy, but it very much is at least with his running ability in terms of just the way he runs is very much, it's Cam Newton, it's Vince Young, it's that long striding, Terrell Pryor at Ohio State, just effortless gliding, kind of similar to Aiden Childs over down the road at Michigan State, but just a dynamic athlete. He's probably not as quick of a, on the dime type cutter as a runner, but he's a very physical, long strider. And yeah, 9 carries, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns, a few of those designed. Otherwise, I'll tell you this. There was a play, I think it was on the 2-minute drill, that he scrambled back left and he had the ball in his left hand and he switched it and got his arm up to throw. You just got to love seeing that from a freshman. Just he's looking to run to pass, and if it's not there, then he's going to take his 10 to 15 yards. The more we see of him, and he made a couple mistakes, but the more we see of him, you can just tell that it's not too fast for him. He's processing things. I think he's learning as he continues to get reps. And yeah, man, I know we're, coming off the Oklahoma week after, post-mortem where we're like, oh, this is maybe not going to be so, it's not going to be so easy. But man, this kid, once fully unlocked, I don't know, Brian. I don't know if I've ever seen a true freshman quarterback with this physical ability. Yeah, there's been some good ones, but man, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but
Hard not to.
yeah, and maybe last year probably plays a role in our reactions, right? Of just not having good quarterback play for over a year.
Hmm.
I don't know, man. I it I don't know. It's impressive.
I thought you made a pretty good point, or a very good point of, one thing I really liked is when he runs, he's still got his head up. He's still looking downfield. I mean, he's still looking to make the play. I mean, I think he still wants to be a pocket passer. I think he realized, the staff realized it's better for everyone for him to do both. But that was one thing I watched that closely when I watched it again. And each time, I think back to, Devin Gardner was a very underrated player for Michigan. I think he just played on some bad teams, but I think he was a very good quarterback for our scheme and at that time. But Denard, he would tuck it and go. He wasn't really looking to pass much, just as exciting as he was. I think he's gonna, the game's gonna continue to slow down for him more. The picture is going to get clearer, as they say, as he looks and scans the field and get more comfort with different guys. And so, yeah, I think it's the sky's the limit, but let's start doing against Big Ten competition and roll.
If they are going to kind of unlock him this weekend in Lincoln, and I feel really confident that he's going to have a big performance. I just think that doesn't seem like the moment's ever too big for him. Didn't have a great stat line against Oklahoma, but still made some throws. And I think with him, kind of his running ability on display, that's going to be another thing for Nebraska to think about, right, defensively. So you can't just say, "Oh, he's not going to run." Well, he might burn you for $120 if you're not careful. So, yeah, man, Hey, we got a fun couple of years here.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
no doubt.
I think he's. Man, I just can't wait to, don't want to rush it, but I'm just, man,
You're
what does he
fired up,
look
man.
like
I
as
love
a
it.
sophomore or junior?
Right.
What does he look like? Because let's talk about some of the throws he made. He made that throw on the touchdown on 3rd and 4 to Samaj, dropped it in the bucket. As I was watching it, because that was towards my end zone, I was in section 19, so probably like the 10 or 20 yard line. I love that type of seat in the big house. You get a great view of the field. I'm like, I don't know if that's going to get there. Is it going to get there? And it just dropped in the bucket. And that was, I believe, kind of I want to say it was like a mesh concept. And then Samaj kind of broke it off. I'm sure that's part of the play in the route tree. And Bryce just split it between two defenders. Big time throw.
Big time throw. Yeah, I think he's kind of, the one thing is he can make every throw, right? There's no question about deep ball, short ball. He's proven now, that concern in those first few throws is he just going to throw lasers all the time. He can layer in, the pass to Samaj and several others. With just the touch is just, okay, he's got it all. He's got to put it all together and do it in big spots.
Yep. Yeah, the throw to Marsh on that deep crosser. That was, wide open, but it was, on the money.
Yeah.
And then he's got the throw to Hogan Hansen, who climbs the ladder over the defender.
A 3rd and long, that's got to have it,
Well, and, I got this thought from the MGO blog podcast, but also I thought it myself, what do we, after the season, if Hogan Hansen, Marlon Klein have the years that we might expect after seeing them at least play one game of football and they're healthy, how does that change the dynamic of the way you look at that Oklahoma game, right? If both of those guys are healthy, those are probably 2 of your top 4 best receivers, right? Just pass catchers in general. So just, having Hogan Hansen back from injury, Marlon Klein got a little bit of run. Hopefully he's continuing to rehab and will be, 90% here before the Nebraska game. And then he gets to the bye week, get those guys healthy. But I think those 2 are clear cut the top 2 tight ends at Michigan in that room. And I think that drop off, unfortunately, is a little bit steeper than maybe we had expected with Marlon Klein being out. And then, Hansen doesn't get to go against Oklahoma. So you're with your 3rd tight end. I think that just helps. That's going to help Bryce. The point that Jake Butt made with us on a show last year when we were talking about Colson Loveland is your tight end is your closest receiver to the line of scrimmage, to where you're lining up as the quarterback, right? He's off the tackle typically. So, you're just more inclined to see those guys. And Michigan likes to spread out their tight ends a little bit, but I just think having those guys as safety blankets is going to be huge for Bryce in these tough environments like this Saturday. So I think those guys being back is going to be a big boom for the offense. Yeah, man, he made some throws. He made some big time throws, and it was a lot of fun to watch.
I think another point about, just to elaborate a little bit on what you were saying about Hanson and Klein is, in Chip Lindsey's offense, I think we're going to see a lot more tempo against Nebraska. And, let's face it, in that scheme, we run Samaj out of the slot, but we also put the tight ends there. So you're moving with tempo and you're a defender and you run up the line expecting to see Samaj. And now all of a sudden you got to see Hogan Hanson and vice versa, right? Like it kind of, the dynamics of that, I think, can make this offense pretty explosive. Uh, they got to get healthy. They got to get right. They got to get their timing. I think, one thing that I can see some Michigan fans getting a little frustrated in Nebraska is when I looked at PFF, Nebraska's ranked 16th in the conference against the run. Great, in terms of rush grades, rush defense grades. And so this smells like a Chip Lindsey, his reputation. I think this is a heavy run, heavy screen, heavy take advantage of those weaknesses. And so, I don't think we care how much it looks like. It's what's the result end out to be. But, I think you have like this fever of wanting to see Bryce just go crazy. And, if you're a Michigan fan, you can't not want to see that. But ultimately, let's get the W. And so I think it's going to be a heavy run game plan with a lot of screens. But I think now we've unleashed his confidence and the play caller's confidence to take more shots downfield. More confidence by Bryce, more confidence in the play callers to get him out in space and make him comfortable where he knows his legs are a weapon. And so I think the more he uses his legs, the more dynamic the whole offense gets. And it definitely makes the offensive line job easier when he's standing back there and just motioning to one side or the other. When he can be dynamic and move around, that just makes everyone's job on the whole offense easier.
I'm sorry, did you say Nebraska was ranked 16th in the country or in the conference?
In the conference.
Okay, yeah, it's hard to know because, there's 18 teams in the Big Ten. So I was like, yeah, because that tracks. Because when I watched, and this is 3 weeks ago, but
Cincinnati had 212 yards against them. Cincinnati.
Yeah, Thorsby had almost 100.
Right.
And he's not Bryce Underwood. So, and I don't think they've got a running back like either Haynes or Jordan Marshall. So, that's that. As you were saying that, I was like, wait a minute. That I think it was because I didn't catch it. They gave up 202 yards, 96 to the quarterback. And that's the game I keep kind of when I'm trying to figure out what Nebraska is going to be, that's the game I look at. But that was coming up on a month ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's, 3.5, 4 weeks ago. And that's the first game of the year. And there's always a lot of improvement in the first quarter of the year. So Nebraska, they lost some guys up front. But to your point, I think, the ground game is, I think, what's going to help Michigan win this game. But get Bryce involved in that potentially you run the pass and that opens things up. I thought the play action against Central Michigan, I thought I love seeing it. Michigan's been such a run heavy team for, ever. There really hasn't been a time where they really aired it out. Maybe a little bit with Gardner, but they've always been a team that's going to run the ball. They're going to be physical. And I just thought that the way Chip Lindsey incorporated play actions early in the downs was awesome. I've been wanting to see that forever. I think Bryce he's done a really good job with being able to turn his back and then look back at the defense, because that split second, that defense could shift. They could be in a shell and they're showing cover 2, and then actually they're in cover 3, or they're in man-to-man with a single high safety. Like, they could rotate while you're looking to fake the handoff. So I think the play action is going to be huge, but I thought, Chip Lindsey did a great job Saturday. Do you lend any credence to the kind of that narrative that because Sharon wasn't there that the substitute teachers in the class and can do whatever they want? Because I don't. He's still got total control and he's still involved. Do you believe any of that? Because I've seen a lot. Michigan fans love to be unhappy.
When your boss goes on vacation, do you change how you do your job? You know what I mean? Right. So, it's like some of that's just ludicrous, I think. I said it last week after the Oklahoma game. Play calling gets a lot easier when you can block the guys on defense. Yes. It gets a lot harder when you can't. You got to take into consideration the level of opponent we're talking about here. A second or two for an athlete like Bryce Underwood is enormous. And I felt like he was constantly under 3 seconds against Oklahoma, and he constantly had 4 seconds against Central Michigan. That second half is worlds of difference. You know what I mean? Let them establish a running game with eight rushing touchdowns, right? Is that right?
I think
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
8 rushing touchdowns, right? By 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different guys. I mean, you know, you're kind of having your way with them a little bit. And so when you're having your way in the run game, and let's face it, that game could have been way worse. I mean, they completely shut it down once they pulled Bryce, and they didn't throw another pass for the last quarter and a half of that game. So um, that game could have been 80 easy. And there wasn't any defensive score, special team scores. That game could have been even more out of hand. But I'm excited. It's like, if you just had, like a lot of teams in the country, you look at particularly the Big Ten, you look at their opponents, and they haven't had the tough test yet. So let's just say our second opponent was Akron or Houston Baptist. We'd be thinking this team was unstoppable. We have this governor that we had to play Oklahoma, which I think John Mateer is now the leading candidate for the Heisman from an odds standpoint. I mean, I think the nation is getting onto him, and so like we said last week, we may look back on that game and say, we played one of the better teams in the country. So I mean, that story has to be written itself. But I think when it comes to play calling, you gotta consider the level of opponent.
No, absolutely. And real quick, I made this mistake all week. They played Houston Christian.
What did I say? Houston Baptist?
Yeah, different.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I thought they're the same program.
Is there a Houston Baptist and a Houston?
There is, yes, and I believe Nebraska has played them as well.
Oh wow.
So hey, look, we've got our two. Yeah, we got our two, and New Mexico, by the way.
Yeah.
Beat the brakes off UCLA. UCLA fired their coach yesterday. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think you're never as good as you think you are after a win. You're never as bad as you think you are after a loss, right? I mean, that's something my high school coach in Omaha, Nebraska, legend, 5 state championships, one of the all-time winningest coaches in Nebraska history, told our team all the time, you're never as good as you think you are after a win. And so, I'm probably drinking a little bit of the Kool-Aid, but I always tell Justin,
you're fired up. I love it.
It's way more fun.
It's way more fun.
If I get overhyped and my expectations are too high and they lose, okay, it's not a real consequence to life. I may get some trash thrown in my face, trash talk, whatever. I'd rather be excited than be a pessimist and be pleasantly surprised. That's just how I am.
Yes, and I love that. You asked about the dynamic of Sharon to Biff. I will ask a very similar question. Are our wide receivers all of a sudden good?
I think what I saw from McCauley gave me a little bit more confidence. I think he ran some really good routes, and I thought he had a really solid day.
He did.
Again, I think the tight ends, they're a huge X factor this season. Just thinking ahead, though, as I'm watching on Saturday, I'm like, are these receivers going to want to be a part of this in the future? Right? Like that help's not going to come this year. I think I thought, I'll be honest, Samaj had the drop on the bubble. That would have been a touchdown, but he made plays downfield.
I watched the replay of that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I saw the replay of that. I can't imagine what that looked like in the stadium because it looked like there was nobody. Was that Hoffman out in front of him? There was someone out in front of him.
Yeah.
No, it was Channing Goodwin who had his guy sealed, and there wasn't anyone on that quarter of the field. I mean, he catches that, and it's one of the bigger highlights of the season. I mean, he goes for forever.
Yeah. Did you see him after he coached himself on the field? He put his hands where they needed to be.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, he had a good game. I mean, he had the catch on the sideline, got both feet down. He had the catch on the touchdown and on the corner route. I think if they can figure out that he's not just a bubble guy, because he can be effective in the screen game if he can catch him. But I thought him being a downfield presence was a great thing for Michigan on Saturday. I think McCauley is a clear number one. I mean, I think we all knew that going into the season. I think Goodwin, I got to catch the ball. I know Bryce is throwing it in there, but I'd rather Bryce throw it in there because when a guy catches, he's got a lot more room to operate, right? The ball doesn't take so long to get there. You got to get this is another thing on MGO Blog to talk about, get the jugs machine, turn it all the way to the fastest speed and work on your hands every day this week, right? Like you've got to be prepared velocity. Hey man, he's got a rifle, right? And if you want to play in the NFL, those guys are throwing that speed almost every starting quarterback. Yeah. You got to be able to catch the football. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I feel any different about the wide receivers. I do think McCauley showed me some things that I hadn't seen in a Michigan uniform yet that were impressive. Again, same with Samaj. Yeah, if Channing Goodwin could be that reliable underneath third wide receiver, I would feel so good about where we're sitting in mid-September. That's still an unknown to me. He's got to come. He's got to make those catches because that's the difference in these types of games. That's the difference between a win and a loss on a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. You got to come up with those because then Michigan misses the field goal and it's just Central Michigan. It doesn't matter. But in a game in the Big Ten, that could be the difference between a win and a loss.
I think by year's end, and this is no slight on Channing Goodwin, I just think Andrew Marsh is such a dynamic athlete. I think we're seeing more and more of him every week. He looks like a young guy, but he also looks really dynamic. He looks different than the other guys we have at that position. I mean, he just looks fast. He looks dynamic. And so I think as long as he can keep stacking days and stacking games, I think by the end of the year, he'll be the number, 2, 3 guy. I think one interesting thing that has surprised me, but I really was expecting going this year that Fred Moore was going to take a jump.
He's had drop issues too.
He had drops. He didn't play an offensive snap against Oklahoma, and he didn't get into the game on Saturday until the 4th quarter. I mean, we played a ton of dudes. I mean, we played Bryce Wilcox. Riddle me this.
Caleb Schlecht. I mean, yeah, that's.
And so he's in the doghouse for sure.
Yeah, you got to
catch the ball,
right?
No doubt.
That's I don't care if it's coming 100 miles an hour. That's your job, right? You were paid to do that. You've got to catch the football, man. And Fred's a great kid, and I'm sure I've never met Channing, but I'm sure he's a great kid. But you got to catch the football, man. And Channing has made some plays so far this year that you can see the potential there. You can see why they like him. And so if he could button that up a little bit. And again, to your point with Andrew March coming on, he had a touchdown on the end around. If he can show that he can be, consistently open, maybe you go with him and McCauley on the outside and Samaj in the slot, right? I mean, Samaj can certainly, be an effective slot receiver.
For sure.
And then you have your tight end running back, in that 11 personnel set. So, they played 80 guys, 44 on offense, 36 on defense.
So here's one for you. Anyone that knows me or follows me on socials knows how much I love this team and know the players on the team. I did not know we had a tight end named Crandall Quinn. All shout out to Crandall Quinn, but he played 6 snaps for us on Saturday, and I had no idea he was on the roster. So
there's a lot of names here that I'm Dan Taraboy.
Yeah, he's played before. Yeah, he's been around for a minute.
James Kavouklis, I'm sure of maybe a Greek sounding name there. There's a lot of guys that I know their names. John Wiedenbach, shout out to you, John. I love Michigan football.
The Weeder, man. The Weeder.
Shout out to John. Nico Andrighetto, not Andretti, Andrighetto. Yeah, a lot of guys getting in there that I don't recognize their names. So
it's wonderful.
No disrespect, but shout out to my guy Caleb Schlecht. I do know Bryson Cusdahl because he balled out in the spring game and he looked pretty good against, I don't know if Central had their starters or second stringers in there, but he had a nice little drive there with Jaden Davis as the quarterback, got a touchdown. You mentioned 8 rushing touchdowns by 6 different players. So Haynes had 2, and Bryce had 2, but everybody aside from Haynes, that was their first career touchdown. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, I didn't realize it. That's super cool.
Yeah, that's cool. A pretty, Jasper Parker got in there, Cusdahl, Andrew Marsh. Am I missing Jordan Marshall?
Had never scored a touchdown, right?
No, I don't believe so. He had the end around sweep that went for like 7 yards.
Oh no, right. Yeah, no, he didn't have one.
But yeah, it was good to see, and I talked about this, and you know this, but this is a win like that. Central Michigan, whatever, but it's good for the program to get 80 guys onto the field. That's invaluable experience. Even if it's just 3 snaps or 5 snaps or whatever it is, just to see game experience in the big house, build some confidence, kind of know what to expect when you get out onto that field. Michigan didn't have this opportunity last year.
No.
They were in dogfights against Arkansas State and Fresno State. So now, you get guys that are able to get in there. It's good for morale. It's good for the vibes of the program and Shem and because those guys bust their ass, man.
For sure.
Like they bust their ass. And, some of them maybe get on special teams, but to get in on offense or defense, I think is super cool and love seeing those guys play. That's why I typically try not to leave the stadium. even in blowouts like that, because they put in a ton of work, and I think you should, pay your respects to the guys that you don't get it, you don't hear about, or you don't see people talking about or getting interviewed or whatever. So that's awesome for the program.
And I think, a bigger drop the mic type situation is getting John Wiedenbach snaps, and
Caleb
Crandall
Schlecht.
Quinn, right, getting snaps than having your starters, score another touchdown and put up some gaudy stats. Like, I think it's, I love it. You said it very well. These guys play a ton of snaps play a ton and do a lot to help the program. And to have them go out there in the big house and put on the uniform and run on the field and make a tackle or just run into somebody.
Yeah,
it's just
they're going to be
awesome.
on TV.
Yeah.
They can tell their kids and grandkids, right?
Yep.
I think about a guy like Jaden Davis too, right? Who came in as a big time recruit, and Bryce won that job. And how cool, for at least from the outside looking in. I don't know how he feels about it, but I thought it was awesome that he got to lead a touchdown drive. I wish I would have let him throw it, but it's late in the game. But he gets 16 snaps and gets to lead a touchdown drive in the big house. I mean, that's got to be pretty special, I would think. So it's just great to see. I'll tell you this. I keep saying that, by the way. I don't know what. I'll tell you this. I sound like a radio host. That interception. Yeah, exactly. That interception from Elijah Dotson was pretty impressive, man. He's gonna be a player.
Him. I mean, that defensive backfield, they played a ton of guys. Has a bunch of really good athletes there. Shamari Earls played. Jaden Sanders played. Jordan Young played. Dotson. Jacob Oden looked good in his limited amount of time. Like, I think he's kind of a lost man because of how well they recruited that position this last cycle. But yeah, there's a lot of really good players. And Jair Hill, he had a really good game. They looked good on defense. Again, know the level of competition. Jayshon Barwin played the entire game at edge. That's such a weird thing. People got two things. One, if you watch the replay, his first sack, I'm pretty sure I could have made that sack. And I'm slow and old.
I don't know. Actually,
the guy, his blocker just ran away from him, and the quarterback ran right towards him. I mean, I'm not saying I could, but most of the guys
thought
in scholarship were making that play.
Dude, that closing speed in the stadium was
super fast.
It was insane. Like, that quarterback must, because I was like, oh, he's probably just throw this away, and he gets, tackled immediately. I thought that was just insanely impressive from an athletic standpoint from Jayshon. The closing speed at his size. Part of me does kind of wonder because of how well Rolder, Cole Sullivan, Troy Bowles, Ernest, they're all playing very well at linebacker. It's like, man, you maybe could have. But you can still use them in that hybrid. We got to come up with a name like Viper for that position because he's kind of all over the place. But man, he's effective as a pass rusher. He's effective as just a straight up linebacker. But man, that sack was like, again, because I thought he was just going to throw it away.
So fast,
like I could only imagine what the quarterback was thinking because he got there in a hurry. But yeah, no TJ Guy. That was interesting, and they came out and said that they wanted a bigger defensive end in there. He didn't record a snap. I don't know if he's in the doghouse. What happened?
I don't know anything, but when you have a guy that's been in the program for 4 or 5 years as a captain, and he doesn't play a snap, it's something happened. He's either a doghouse, some just skipped some workout, skipped class, something. You can't sell me on he's perfectly healthy. And when you play John Wiedenbach, that he didn't get a single snap because he's shout out to John Wiedenbach. I feel horrible now. But you know what I mean? Like, the fact that he doesn't get any snaps, like, something's up there, and hopefully he moves past it and we see him in a decent way this week. So, because I think he's a good player. You get Barwin, you keep those guys fresh. With Nate Marshall, I would expect. I haven't heard anything. I don't have any insight, but he got hurt. I would assume that we're going to not see him for a couple weeks. Again, I don't have any insight on that, but we need TJ Guy to take those snaps if nothing else. So, and to your point, the linebackers look so good. I thought I read, and I haven't verified, but they didn't blitz at all in that game. Not one time.
Well, no, it was on I think I know what you're talking about. It was a tweet about getting pressure on every snap they didn't blitz on or
something like that. Yeah.
It was like 2 that they got pressure on. But I thought they brought pressure a few times. I'd have to go back and rewatch. I rewatched a little bit this morning at the gym. But I thought they did bring some guys. I mean, Troy Bowles, because Troy Bowles had a couple quarterback hits. That kid, I don't know where you fit him on the field, but every time I see him, I come away impressed. And I know you've got Cole Sullivan and Ernest Houseman and Jay Sean Barham and Jimmy Rolder's playing really good football. Like, man, that kid seems too good to keep off the field. I don't know how he didn't see the field. Well, I do know how he didn't see the field at Georgia's. They got the best linebackers in the country. But that kid can play, man. I mean, his dad's an NFL.
I think he's a little undersized. I think he's a little undersized.
He wears number 18, and like I had a split second like flashback to McBurrows. And I was like, that's not McBurrows, that's Troy Bowles out there. He was in on the fumble recovery or on that. I don't know I can't remember if he forced it or what, but man, he's flying all over the field. They've got a lot of depth, and they got a lot of young talent defensively that I'm extremely excited about. That's going to be coming through the ranks again. That Elijah Dotson pick, I mean, he's running to his right. The ball's thrown behind him to the left. He gets his body around, gets his fingertips on it. I mean, that's a freakishly athletic play from him. And he was committed to Pitt, man. I can't believe. I know that all kind of worked out with getting him and Bryce and the Belleville connection. I couldn't believe that they it took him that long to get him to come to Michigan. Like you could just tell he's a ball player. It
was Bryce's leading receiver at Belleville.
He was. He played both ways. Yeah,
great athlete. He played 12 snaps and graded out at a 91.4. I mean, you don't see very many over 80 on a week-to-week basis. So 91.4 is very good, and his coverage grade was even higher. So the folks evaluating the snaps over at PFF were really impressed by him, and he looked good.
Yep. Jair Hill had a sack. He also got beat on a double move, but had safety protection over the top, came and hit the receiver, and it was nothing to be worried about. But those double moves get me a little concerned sometimes with Jair. That's like the one thing he kind of needs to clean up. That really concerns me. Otherwise, also don't do the celebration like that in front of the ref. I think got a little lucky. He didn't get penalized.
That was a flag for sure. I was like,
I did too, man. I was like, you got to stop with that stuff, man. I mean, it's just, especially I know college football isn't the NFL, but I know the NFL is cracking down on taunting. I'm sure that's going to get passed down to college. Like that's just going to become more of an emphasis for the college officials. So, got to stay away from that stuff, man. Go celebrate with your teammates. I don't know. I'm not in that generation though, Brian. I don't know what's cool and what's not. So I don't know. It's not cool getting a penalty though.
These gray hairs, I definitely don't know, right?
Yeah. Speaking of penalties, a couple penalties bring back long touchdown runs. The first one I can't remember. I know the second one was a legit call. I can't remember on the first one. It felt like I think I saw some people say it was controversial. Can't do that. Especially again against Central Michigan, doesn't matter. But man, you get a 7-yard touchdown next week against Nebraska is called back. A lot of people are gonna be real upset. A lot of people in that building, and the coaching staff, your position coaches. So need to clean that up. Other than that, though, there wasn't really a lot of game issues like that for me. I thought the 2-minute drive at the end of the game or the end of half was perfect. The officials screwed up. The clock should have stopped with like 22 seconds left. And there's a bunch of people around me like complaining that the coaches aren't calling a timeout. I'm like, I'm like internally not trying to argue with these random people. But I'm like, the clock's supposed to stop. It's under 2 minutes. It's the first down. And then they said 12 seconds on the clock. I don't know what we're doing. But it worked out. Got a touchdown.
I think, you talked about mistakes. I think one thing that's been kind of a mistake-ridden unit is our offensive line. I know they played a lot of guys. I don't know if they gained any clarity. I mean, I think Jake Guarnera certainly seemed like
playing.
He was the highest graded guy in the interior, played the most snaps and graded the highest. I think he seemed like a mauler. He had some mistakes. He had some missed opportunities when I rewatched, but he looked really good. I don't know what the best combination is because sometimes the best player isn't necessarily the best fit because of how guys play off each other. And, I think those Joe Moore Award lines were perfect examples of that. I don't think they were always, 1 through 5, the best at their position, but I think they played really well with each other, knew where each other would be, knew who they could trust to do what. So I think as the season goes on, I think probably one of the most important things, besides trying to get a little more healthy and finding the rhythm on offense, is identifying the best 5 or 6, and making that clear. Because I think El Hadi's going to be out for a couple more weeks. I think they said that. That's not really a thing. They said he's out a couple more weeks. So I don't know.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Guarnera for redshirt freshman, because we've seen redshirt freshman offensive line as recently as last year. And Evan Link has turned the corner. I think he's been playing much better football, at least compared to last year. Kind of like kind of a baseline guy, which is fine. I'm totally okay with that. But for a redshirt freshman, Guarnera has been mauling guys. I mean, I thought he moved guys in the Oklahoma game, and that's more of a barometer for me. But against Central Michigan, yeah, he's moving guys. But I think he's been one of the best offensive linemen that's seen the field this year.
Oh, yeah. And I have a soft spot for him. He went to Nice High School, same place as Tim Tebow. My niece and nephew went there. So I was hearing about him long before he was kind of on Michigan's radar. I was this massive human that was going to go play Division I somewhere. And then,
yeah. Well,
that got traction. It was kind of fun. So,
well, and his recruiting profile to me doesn't make a lot of sense. Even, just it doesn't matter anymore. But, you go back and look, he was the 27th best interior offensive line in the country. I mean, he had offers from Florida, FSU, Miami, Ole Miss, Penn State. Like, that's not really a, mid 3-star kind of guy. So I'm not surprised that, I think he's probably a guy that the recruiting services maybe missed on a little bit. I don't know how well they can project interior offensive linemen, especially to the next level. But I think Michigan did a great job in their eval with him because, what you heard about him as a recruit and what you're seeing on the field, I think is spot on. He's a mauler. He's got a nasty streak. I love offensive linemen like that. So you got to think he cemented himself as one of the best 5 offensive linemen. They'll shuffle around as guys get back from injury. I think I would assume Norton will be back. Mm-hmm. I thought, Phobie had had a penalty or two, but I think he's a young guy figuring it out as well. It takes time, man. Like in an ideal world, yeah. In an ideal world, last year with Evan Link or this year with a Phobie and Guarnera, you don't see them until they're at least redshirt sophomore, if not redshirt junior year. Like, I know the NIL world and the portal and stuff, that's hard to do now, but offensive linemen are just so different. They're not going to come in and, there's been some guys at Michigan that have done it relatively successful with like Mason Cole. But it's such a difficult position to learn in the college game. So
I think we'd be talking about Babalolo as a stud right now.
Probably one of those guys. Yeah.
He would have playing. He would have started that week 1 based on what we saw, right? Like, I think I feel pretty good. He would have played a ton, probably would have started against Oklahoma, starts against Central, and we'd be talking about him like that's a future All-American. And I still feel that way, but it's just a shame that, he got injured like he did.
Yeah, man, that's really tough. I mean, typically true freshman offensive lineman, and it's not the end of the world. He's going to come back and he's going to hopefully be ready for fall camp next year and be ready to go. But, this is valuable experience he could have been getting, even if he wasn't the starter, right, to be able to go and play and rotate and figure out what your best 5 is. Because, I mean, you're down a few guys right now. I mean, El Hadi's going to be out for a couple of weeks. Babalola's out for the season. Norton got banged up in practice, right? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know where they kind of go from here, but you're getting guys experience, which I think is great. Like Blake Frazier played 23 snaps on Saturday. Caden Strayhorn, who's our center of the future, got 14 snaps. Avery Gatch got 6 snaps. So you got some guys, some very good experience on Saturday, but it's a little thinner than maybe we would have liked at this point in the season, unfortunately.
So looking ahead to this week, I know Nebraska is a little bit. It's kind of a sweet soft spot in your house. How's this week look for you? As you guys talk about the week with family and friends?
Yeah, well, we got a wedding in northern Michigan. We're going to be going to it's Monday afternoon as we're recording this, or Monday around 5-ish. Wednesday, we're heading up to go to Mackinac Island. My wife wants to do that. This is my first time there, even though I'm from Michigan. And then, the wedding is at 4, games at 3:30. So I'm going to mute my phone because I've got a lot of friend groups that like to talk a lot of trash.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to have to mute those threads. And
such a hard time doing that, by the way.
I know. I'm going to watch the game as long as I can without looking like an imbecile. And then I'm going to pause it and mute my phone. Hopefully nobody texts me. Hopefully ESPN doesn't alert me to anything. And then I'll try to watch it through like the cocktail hour. And then, I don't know. I mean, because, the bride and groom are Michigan grads. So, I was like, hey, the bye week's 27th. We just reschedule. But they don't know the schedule. Yeah, they don't know. I mean, I got married on a fall Saturday. I can't say anything. But no, so with all that said, this might be a big week for me, Brian. My wife's always trying to finesse and get Nebraska onesies. And I'm like, she might, I need the boys to win. Let's just say that. I need them to pull it out. so my daughter can, root for the winner. Yeah. So I got the pro Detroit teams on lock. Now it's just, Michigan needs to come
Like
out
a firm
victorious.
grasp in the household.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, my wife has a lot of Michigan stuff. She's a Nebraska grad.
She's a trooper, man. She goes to all the games. She's a good wingman.
Oh yeah. It's a little tougher with the little one, but we actually just booked our travel to Chicago for the game at Wrigley. So she's not going, but we're gonna have a hotel, and so I'll go. She won't.
Yeah.
That's okay. But yeah, man, she's a Nebraska grad. She roots for her Huskers when she can, but she doesn't really care that much. I mean, I'm like, I'm gonna go talk about football with my friend Brian. She's like, all right. Fine, she doesn't care. So yeah, it's a big week though. It's a big week. The company I work for has a home office in Nebraska. I got a lot of friends there. Used to work out of that office. So, a lot of texts this week, a lot of Teams calls, how you feeling? They haven't beat Michigan since 2013. So, I got a lot of friends that went to the University of Nebraska, and so they're chomping at the bit for this one, man. I'll tell you that. And that's just not the fans. This is a huge opportunity for Nebraska and Matt Rule in year 3 to show that they're different, that the close game narrative can go away. Like, I don't know in reality if they do win this game, if because if they go out and they still lose 6-7 games, like, that narrative is going to be there about Nebraska. But this is a huge opportunity for them to really have a springboard into kind of that new era of Nebraska football that they've been looking for since they fired Bo Pelini.
Right.
So in that building, you got to imagine, I mean, this is going to be an intense week for them. Matt Rule has been pretty public about his disdain for Michigan here recently with all the, he always makes his little jabs. And I'm sure on his podcast, he'll make a comment, which I normally root for Nebraska. But honestly, since he started just kind of talking out the side of his neck, I don't care for him.
Yeah, I can't stand
coach your program, run your own race, worry about you.
Yeah,
it was 45-0 in the third quarter or whatever it was. Signs weren't the reason you got your ass kicked, and just keep it moving, man. Worry about your program.
Right.
That's how I feel. So
I'm not a big fan of his because before that it seemed like a good coach, decent dude, but he started chirping. It's like, yeah, I'm done with you. I don't want it.
And now he's got his podcast, House Rules. Kind of funny, man. I'm surprised looking back that Jim Harbaugh didn't get bashed more for having his podcast. You would think, because remember that time that pre-COVID, like, oh, they can't win the big one, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that, I don't know. I just coach football, man.
Coach football.
Why do we have podcasts?
Right.
But everybody, hey, look, we got a podcast.
Let us morons handle this, right?
Yeah, every time somebody says podcast equipment should be more expensive, I'm like, damn. It's not that expensive. You can get into it real easy. But yes. Anyways, they're going to be fired up. That fan base is going to be fired up.
Yeah,
because I'll tell you, in 2023, his first year, 3:30 kick or 2:30 their Central Time, man, it was loud for like 3 minutes, and then I think the moment it kind of just there was no noise is after JJ threw it to Rome and he pinned it on the dude's helmet, and then it was quiet from there on out. But in 2021, when Michigan was undefeated coming in. Night game, which this is not, thank God. It's a 2:30 kick, it's local time. That place was, dude, that is the loudest environment I've ever seen. I know Justin's made comments talking to guys on that team that was the loudest stadium that they had ever experienced. So Nebraska fans can get up, man, because they got this is their favorite thing. This is what they love. They love supporting Nebraska in any sport, but especially football. So it's going to be a tough environment. It's probably going to be a little bit tougher than Oklahoma in terms of the crowd noise, if I had to guess. So I think the communication for Bryce and the offense is going to be huge. I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah. I mean, they got to get the W, man. That's all I know. Vegas has the game at like a 1.5 point spread in Michigan's favor. I would expect that. I would expect that to move towards Michigan.
I do too.
I would expect that's like 4 by kickoff is my guess. But
I know Bill Connolly from ESPN has his SP Plus algorithm that has Nebraska's 1.5 point favorites. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. I don't think we know. I mean, Michigan went to a tough environment against Oklahoma.
Worth noting, Bill Connolly's the same guy that you just referenced, the same guy that after week 1 had Texas ranked above Ohio State. So
it takes some time for that algorithm.
It takes time for that algorithm.
I put a lot more credence into his algorithm than a lot of the other ones out there. It's typically once he gets later in the year, and I think the portal has really ruined his ability to kind of, project a little bit in the first part of the season because he's got like it is a little wonky, but it is 100% better than the ESPN FPI. Like, I don't know why they still have that. They should just use his. About October is when it starts to really kind of be much more accurate, and I'm a big fan of his and the work he does with that thing. It's typically pretty spot on.
Yeah.
But
so what's
yeah,
the score? What's the score going to be? Give it to me.
Put me on the spot, dude.
I am. Come on, that's what we do.
Give me Michigan 27-20.
27-20. That's reasonable. I feel like the more, looking at this game 36 hours ago, I felt like it was going to be a dogfight and, it was going to be a fourth quarter game. The more I've looked at kind of the deeper dive of the opponents and the analytics and strengths and weaknesses of these teams, that being running the ball and stopping the run, I feel like Michigan's just going to put a hurting on them. I really do. I know Vegas doesn't say that. Bill Connolly thinks they're going to lose by 1 out. I think Michigan wins by double digits. I think they score 31-20.
I like it. I mean, I love it. I love any margin of victory here, because I just, there's a lot more.
I'll take a 3-0 win. Come on, give it to me.
There's a lot of Nebraska fans in my office.
Oh, yeah.
I work remote, but they, we're all interconnected. We have team meetings. I want to come onto the team meeting. They're on a Michigan hat. Just not say anything. Just enjoy it. I do think, though, that it's going to be a more competitive game between these two teams than we've seen the last couple times. In 2022, Michigan beat them 34-3, and then in 23, they beat them 45-7. So, I think it's going to be a lot more competitive than that game. But I do think Michigan, I don't know how much we talked about, but I thought the defensive line for Michigan, I was really impressed by. I thought Trey Williams played well. I thought Benny had a bounce back. He was not the Benny I was expecting the first couple of weeks. I thought he played a much better game. I think they just got a lot of depth defensively. And I think the X factor for Nebraska is going to be the willingness to run that Raiola brings, because, he loves to be Patrick Mahomes. He is a little bit like Mahomes in the fact that he's not looking to run very often, right?
He doesn't run, dude.
Mahomes will break it out when he needs to. I don't think he's as good of an athlete as Mahomes is, but I do think he's got the ability to scamper for 7 yards if he's
sure. I mean, he's a Division I athlete, but I think if you look at the last several years, it's these mobile quarterbacks that have given us fits. And Raiola he's a pylon, man. He does not run. Like, can he run? Sure, he's a Division I athlete. He can run. But if you look at his stats, I don't think he's ever had a game with more than 40 yards, and that's including games against Houston Christian, not Baptist. He's just not that guy. And so I think if you keep a guy between the tackles and let Wink pin his ears back and try to confuse him a little bit, bring Troy Bowles, bring those linebackers, bring Cole Sullivan, bring Barham. I think they're going to create a lot of problems for him and create some turnovers. And so that's part of where my optimism comes from, is his lack of mobility and lack of, as you said, willingness to tuck it and go. I just don't think he wants to do that. He'd rather throw it away and live to fight another day.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%, man. So going to be a fun week. We're going to be doing some stuff with our friends over at No Blog, No Rock. They're a Nebraska podcast that one of my good friends who's in my wedding, neighbors with one of the guys. That's how we got connected. So you'll be seeing some stuff in partnership with those guys. They're also, if you want a Nebraska perspective, check them out. No Block, No Rock. I want to say a huge thank you to Feldman Chevrolet of Highlands, as well as Woodson Whiskey. Check out the new Mason Blitz. I believe that should be at Total Wine, any of those liquor stores in Ann Arbor and the surrounding areas. Is very good. Had a couple of those Saturday at the tailgate, Brian, and and we had some Friday night at the Graduate Bar. Did a little tasting. Had some Blue by 90 fans come out. Chris Wormley was there. He and Jordan Strack are doing the Stadium at Maine podcast on our YouTube channel and Spotify. So check that out. But just a huge thank you to our partners making all this stuff possible for us. And that's going to do it for me, Brian. Any closing thoughts for you as we get out of here?
Go Blue. Let's see the Bryce show continue. Let's get to Broadway there, baby.
Absolutely, man. Go Blue. And once again, thank you to Feldman Chevrolet of Highland. For us, you can follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at Blue by 90. And you can check us out at blueby90.com. We appreciate you. Go Blue.
Go Blue.